Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at the working cable car mod, which is being released by user Bashman Scallops. And what this glorious little piece of work looks at into the game is, well, exactly what the name says: working cable cars that you can build in your settlements to provide some form of mass transit, because you can actually ride them. They're workable cable cars, or well, working rather, and they're friggin' awesome. I gotta admit, not exactly something I ever thought I really would care for in this game, but now that I've seen them and played with them, they're great, and I can only imagine some of the cool mass transit systems people could build on like a larger settlement area like Spectacle Island with these things. It could be pretty cool. Even in small settlements, just a point-to-point cable car could be pretty interesting and entertaining. But of course, there are some oddities with it, so let's talk about what all you are getting here, how to work with it, and some of the issues it does have, which you'll very clearly see because I've constructed this in a manner where we should encounter several of the issues. So yeah, let's get going. So first and foremost, the most bare bones basics of this is that these cable cars ride along standard in-game conveyor belts. So you of course will need those DLCs that add that into the game for this to function, otherwise you don't have conveyor belts to use. And then you simply place one of these cable cars on top of a conveyor belt, or rather the hook bit there on top of the conveyor belt, and that hook will keep it just right there as it travels along. And yeah, that's pretty awesome, using already existing in-game things to make this work, which is pretty cool. Now, I will say before we actually take a look at where they are in the workshop mode, these things are an incredible pain to actually place. And because of that, the mod maker highly recommends that you download the mod Place Everywhere. And I will actually take it a step further and recommend that you definitely get it. I would say it's a requirement personally, because without Place Everywhere, no matter what I did, I could not get those cable cars onto the conveyor belt at all. That just wasn't working. The only way I could was with Place Everywhere and the occasional no-clip flying, because even with Place Everywhere, it's kind of awkward to do. So let's take a look in the workshop mode and show how that does work. And first and foremost, you'll find the cable car kind of awkwardly in furniture. I don't know why it's considered furniture, but in furniture and then miscellaneous, you have the cable car, which is made by just a couple of glass and steel. I kind of was surprised at how little, but you know, hey, there we go. And how this actually does function is that little hook on the top, that there's a weight up there you can see on the hook, and that weight has a lot of weight. I don't remember how much the mod maker said in their demo video, but like thousands of weight units. So that's how it stays on the conveyor belt as it moves. So if you don't get it just right on the conveyor belt, that happens. The hook, or specifically the weight of the hook right there, wants to go down, and it will make it to the ground no matter what, taking the rest of the car with it. So yeah, I had that happen a lot while trying to place it at an angle looking upward like this, and they just fall and freak out and like, I'll try again. So yes, it is kind of a finicky thing to place on there, which is why I ended up mostly no-clip flying to place these things onto the conveyor belts there. But yeah, simply scrap it if you miss and try again. Good times though, good times, but definitely why I would suggest the Place Everywhere as a requirement, because otherwise it's super tough to get those things on there. And once you do, it's just a simple matter of powering the conveyor belts, and then you're good to go. So I do have a switch over here, but I do want to mention a few things before we actually get moving. You'll see all of it in practice here in a moment. These cars, predominantly because of just the physics of Fallout, are finicky. Very finicky. So you don't want anything nearby them that they could run into. A gap like this even between this platform that I have to get on and off is already incredibly close, and they do occasionally clip because of some other things. For instance, it's kind of close over to my stairs, and on turns, because even though they will turn, they kind of get in an angle when they turn. If it clips something, like say a stairwell, it will cause it to freak out a bit. If it hits another stairwell down the line, well, it may not be fully lined up with your platform anymore. So you really gotta make sure that there's a pretty decent gap between the cable cars and anything around. And I mean that in all directions, even below. I had originally built the conveyor belt shifted over here so that I was hoping it would just go straight over this platform. But as they move forward, they tilt forward ever so slightly. Again, physics. And so it would start to tilt and just drag and scrape along the floor here. So you really got to make sure, I'd say at least a good meter in every direction, that there is clearance with nothing around, or else this will find a way to hit something. And when it does, and if you're inside, that could kick you out of the, cable car. Because again, Fallout physics. So let's turn our switch on, power our cable car, and there we go. We are in a cable car. We can actually stand in it and we will travel. Now again, because of just the nature of Fallout 4's physics, we actually stay in place, and it's not until we hit the back wall that we kind of get dragged along. But that, of course, will make us to start to slowly sink down, as you can see here, and eventually you will just straight fall through unless you jump back out. So it's kind of recommended you kind of keep moving forward while riding this thing, just to make sure you don't get squeezed out of the floor into the bottom of the world. And yeah, if there is anything like, as you can see there, it hitting my stairs, that's why I left them, that could easily kick you out of the cable car almost instantly. In fact, it probably will. Another issue is it's really meant to have these on a single layer. You don't really want them to go up and down with the conveyor belts, because that, again, much like the issue I'm about to have, oh, there we go, I'm squeezed out. If the cable car travels up and down on the angled conveyor belts, again, it may just push you out quicker. Because unfortunately, I don't think there's anything the mod maker can do about that. That's just the nature of Fallout 4 physics. But yeah, as long as there's nothing in the way and you're on a single level of track, they actually do move pretty well. And at stations where you board on and off, you should be able to get a little bit closer. It's only when they have the finicky bits of stuff they may run into that is when you'll have problems of them getting real jittery. But again, yeah, so long as you make sure you got at least a meter of clearance, I'd say, you're good to go, and you can have a nice mass transit system made of cable cars. And you can do it in all sorts of ways, especially if you are real good at the electronic stuff in this game. You could probably make a pretty cool multi-station thing. On the demo video that the mod maker has, it's just like a point-to-point straight line station, and they have switches at each end, so you flip the switch, it takes you to the other end, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I imagine others could probably make a nice multi-station network, or just a big loop to tour around your settlement. That could be pretty cool. And all in all, a fun, strange little mod. It may not be the most useful and, frankly, yeah, just most useful thing in the world. I couldn't think of another word to go there. But it's just fun. And I like the idea of having some form of transit system in the game other than walking around, especially if you can make it a bit more scenic of a route with your cable car. But yeah, that's really all there is to talk about with this thing. It's a pretty fun little mod, very entertaining. I can't wait to see how it does get updated in the future. I don't know if any of the physics, like I said, can be fixed, because a lot of that's just going to come down to Fallout 4 physics. But nonetheless, with what we have here, it works, and it works pretty darn well as long as you take a handful of precautions. So definitely do go check it out, link in the description as per usual with these mods, and hopefully you have enjoyed this one with me today, and you come back for whatever mod we do look at next. But until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, well, have a good one, my friends.